couple years ago, Nintendo burst onto the scene. Hey guys, check out our brand new console. It's a thing you plug in your TV and hold in your hands. Also, John Cena likes it. Buy it, please. And I went, okay. Then got my mum to buy it for me. That was 6 years ago. The world has moved on a bit since then. For Nintendo, life's going fucking swimmingly. Everyone bought the thing, everyone bought Animal Crossing, apparently Saudi Arabia are pretty big fans. For John Cena, also going pretty well. He's got an acting career going, he's on the cover of that new wrestling game, I heard he liked Metroid Dread a lot. For me, I have aged. I finished high school, I finished college, I didn't finish university. I got my driving license, I learned how to cook pasta, I even, check this out, started earning some money on this YouTube thing. Yeah, look at that. Follow your dreams, folks. I am now 20. I do not feel 20. It felt like 2 days ago I was running around the playground, picking my nose and colouring in various animals with felt tip pens. Now I'm looking at fucking Go Compare to try and find deals on my car insurance? What has happened? Time has happened. We will all age and get old, and the longer we live on this planet, the faster the days will go, and the more we'll regret, and the more we'll decay until there's nothing left, and we're bones in the ground, no one remembers us, and we just have to live with that. And also 6 years ago, Breath of the Wild came out. If anything, that's the scariest fact of them all. The Switch being 6 years old, I can deal with. The thing feels 6 years old. It honestly feels more than that. Me being 20? Hell yeah, that's the prime of my life. Great, ignore the ticking clock over my head. But Breath of the Wild? 6? Really? 6 years? 6 years old? You're kidding me. You're pulling my leg. You're joshing me. Please tell me you're joshing me. I don't know why, but Zelda has consistently felt like a game that is at max 2 years old. Maybe that's because the sequel has been on the cusp of releasing for years at this point and my brain is just mixing up the two, or if the pandemic creating a black hole in the calendar is making me forget just how much time has passed, but this game still feels new. I don't get it. It's a game that came out on the fucking Wii U. That is how long ago this was. Fortnite did not exist yet. PUBG did not exist yet. This game was released in a pre-Battle Royale global takeover timeline. Can you even imagine that? And yet, it still feels like it came out yesterday. I can pop it in and run around for a bit, and it still feels as fresh and engrossing as it did back when I was 14. I think it takes a really special game to do that, to not only stand the test of time, but to basically gaslight you into thinking it's newer than it is. How does it do that? Well, let's find out in my extremely late to the party review / retrospective / video essay thing about Breath of the Wild. Spoiler alert, I think it's pretty good. There's a kind of open world design in games that I have dubbed open worlds, for a lack of a better term. Nintendo tried to call it open air for a bit. No one's gonna call it open air, guys. Nice try. It's a weird thing to try and define, because the obvious retort is just call it an open world game, you twat. It's a big map that you can explore in a non-linear order and maybe fight some guys or climb some towers. Sounds like an open world game to me. But I don't think it's fair to describe it like that, because when I hear open world game, I don't think of this. I think of Ubisoft. I think of hundreds of icons littering the screen. I think of tailing missions. I think of tacked-on RPG mechanics. I think of staring at a minimap instead of the video game in front of me. The world itself isn't the reason you play these games. Not to say that's always a bad thing, it's just different. I love me some Spider-Man, but New York isn't a world to explore to my heart's content. It's really just some nice set dressing for the missions, and a place to unwind when I don't feel like doing the missions. Meanwhile, in one of these, I want to do everything but the missions. Fuck the main quest, I'm gonna go explore that cave. Spoken as someone who has played a grand total of 1 hour of Skyrim, it's the Skyrim thing. Breath of the Wild is the Skyrim thing taken to its logical extreme. Fuck the missions, fuck the main quest, I want to climb that mountain and go to that village and jump headfirst into that volcano. And Breath of the Wild goes, alright, do whatever you want, I don't care. Go fight the final boss whenever, does it look like I give a shit? There are no restrictions here, no rules, there aren't any locked off areas or essential missions outside of the tutorial. It's just pure, unadulterated sandbox. This is your world, your adventure. Go explore that shit. Ganon can fucking wait. I remember thinking this was the coolest thing in 2014 when the game first got announced. The ability to just see a mountain in the distance, and then just go to it? That imploded my 11-year-old mind. Granted, I'd probably played like one open world game at this point. I did not know what GTA was. I did not know what Skyrim was. In that context, this trailer is fucking quaint. So it's kind of amazing that it still manages to feel that cool now, even after I've played GTA and The Witcher 3 and an hour of Skyrim. Hey, you wanna know why it's still that cool? The concept of invisible walls is not a thing in this video game. Climbing has been a thing in games since the dawn of time. For instance, here's a little Italian man climbing a ladder. Look at him go. Assassin's Creed got climbing, Dying Light's got climbing, Horizon Zero Dawn got climbing. Name a video game, it's got climbing in it. It's human nature to want to climb, a primal instinct from our ancestors. And yet, climbing in video games is so often limited by restrictions and handholds and yellow paint. You want to climb that mountain? Sure thing, Sonny Jim. All you gotta do is find the delicately laid out path of handholds that the game designers placed for you. What's that? There isn't one? Well, sounds like a fucking you problem, doesn't it? Breath of the Wild goes, you want to climb that mountain? Alright then, climb it. Have fun. A mountain is not a barrier, it's a jungle gym. A wall is only a wall if it has a roof on top to stop me clambering over it. Why go the quick way when I can take the scenic route? It's such a simple little thing that it feels bizarre to praise it, but like, it's one of the most transformative additions for an open world game in years. You stop looking at this place like it's just a big video game level with a bunch of designed routes and paths to take. If you want to get up this mountain, you have to take this road. If you want to get over this ravine, you have to find a bridge. Because instead, I can just bulldoze my way through the whole thing. Who's gonna stop me? I love that I can climb to the top of a tower, mark out a couple spots that look interesting, and then just go to them. No questions asked. If there's a massive ravine in my way, I don't have to find a way around it, I can just sail right over it, or alternatively, go and do some spelunking. If I find myself at the foot of a mountain, or the base of a big-ass tree, or the bottom of a waterfall, I don't have to look on and wonder and imagine all the cool shit that's up there. I can just go up there and see for myself. And more often than not, it's a little man that goes... There's a lot of people who don't like Breath of the Wild because a huge chunk of the game is slowly working your way to a cool place, only to be greeted by a little man who hands you a lump of golden shit. And to those people, I would like to say, fair. The number of mountains I've climbed thinking there would be something cool at the top, only to find another fucking pebble, is very high. I take a lot of pleasure out of dumping the rock on the little guy's head. But at the same time, the mountain is beckoning me. I don't care if it's probably just another lump of shit to add to my ever-growing collection, because my monkey brain won't fucking shut up! I don't always need a huge reward for climbing a big mountain. I'm gonna want to climb the mountain anyway, because climbing a mountain is fun. That's not to say I don't want to find things. You need a map to be full of things to find and discover, otherwise what's the value in exploring any of it? Pretty vistas and golden shit only gets you so far. But I don't need every corner to be filled with something new and exciting. As long as I can be reasonably sure that the cool place on the horizon has something interesting to see, I'm gonna go there, because my monkey brain is going apeshit at the possibilities. How about a forest shrouded in darkness where you can't see 5 feet in front of you, or an island where you're stripped bare and have to fend for yourself? Other times you'll wander around a corner and find a big fat man fast asleep with some trinkets around his neck ready for the taking. What's that, a shrine at the top of an impossibly tall rock formation? How'd that get there? Or one halfway out in the ocean? Or one hiding under an inconspicuous slab? How about a house you can buy? Or a whole town you can build? Or a large lady that can upgrade your glow-in-the-dark skeleton outfit? Here's a ravine, here's the tower, here's the giant maze, here's a village full of shops and people to talk to and a guy whose wife left him because he loves chickens too much. There is so much fun stuff to find in this world that I don't really mind if half of the time I get somewhere and it's just another Korok, because there's always the next place, and the next, and the next. Alright, maybe I do, cat. Then there's the spots that are just nice to be in. The forests, or the wide open plains, or the tippy tops of mountains. The places where you can just stop and go, fuck me, that's a nice screensaver. This world feels so lived in and alive. Every forest feels like they've plucked out a little bit of Japanese countryside and plopped it in the game. It's like I could just turn the console off and the whole thing would keep living on without me. Running around a mountain at the dead of night with nothing but the wind, a stray piano note or two, and a distant bird call to keep you company. Chopping some trees in a forest as it gently starts to rain with a cricket chirping away in the long grass. Sneaking between patrolling guards as a heavy storm lashes against the walls of an imposing fortress. Climbing up a tower and gazing out at a group of rowdy youths bullying a pig. I'm a simp for immersive world design. I love me some Red Dead 2, I love me some Prey, I love me some Studio Ghibli in particular, and this is why. This is the game that got me hooked. I love a good world that drowns you in atmosphere, that makes you forget that what you're playing is a game, or what you're watching is a movie. Breath of the Wild is brilliant at doing that. Even when stuff is popping in 5 feet in front of your face, the game does such a good job at drawing you in that most of the time you don't even register it. The rain, the wind, Link's weapons rattling behind him as he runs, the little pitter-patters as you climb up a wall, the fires, oh, the bonfires in this game sound so good. The little jingle that plays when you do some cooking is wonderful, it's brilliant, it's up there with some of the best sound effects ever made. A lot of people don't like the music, which is understandable. The best song made for this game is exclusive to a fucking trailer. There is no boppin' Beatle shop music in this, we were fucking robbed. But I kind of love how minimalistic it is. Most of the time it's barely even there, it's just a dude on a piano occasionally stroking a couple keys and a guy on a flute going. Is it anywhere near as iconic as this? Or this? Or this? No, but is it really trying to be? You could call it airy, or empty, or literally just a dude hitting a couple keys every once in a while, and fair, it is all of those things. But it's also serene, and beautiful, and fits the mood of the game better than any massive orchestrated piece would. Let me get lost in the world for a little bit. Let me lose myself in the ambience. Then, when I walk into a Guardian, feel free to jab me with 100 little piano notes. It's not even just the atmosphere that makes the world feel so immersive, it's all the ways you can interact with it, all the sandboxy stuff and the tiny little details that just make the world feel more rich. Big chunky bugger hasn't got a sword? Not a problem. Now he's got a tree. No rocks to throw? Throw a friend. Why run down the mountain when you can just Tony Hawk it? This isn't a game where you get in a boat and hold down a button to make the boat go. This is a game where you chop down a tree, get a giant leaf, then use the giant leaf to make gusts of wind to catch the sails and make the boat go. All that's really been added here is more steps to the process, but the process is the important bit. That's the bit that makes it feel real. Want to make a campfire? You don't go in your weapon wheel and press the "Make me a campfire please" button. You get some wood and some flint and whack 'em. Ta-da! It feels weird to parade this around like this. Again, like, whoa, cool feature bro, campfires. But it is that cool. Games don't usually do this. You get the old immersive sim that comes along and goes, hey guys, how about we let you crawl around that fucking vent? But it's so rare to see something on this scale show up and carry some of those same ideas forward. Ironically, the only other open world game to do something like this in recent memory is Red Dead 2. If you eat too much, you get fat. If your horse eats too much, it gets fat. You can go have a bath. Hunted animals have different ratings depending on how cleanly you kill them. You can fish the normal way or the cool way. The difference is that in Red Dead 2, none of it fucking matters. Sorry Rockstar, I love your cowboy game, but me being fat has no effect on my ability to deadeye an entire camp of people in one go. An easy way to look at it is with a very shit analogy. The immersive sim stuff in Red Dead 2 is like some seasoning on top of a very nice meal. You don't really need it, but it's nice to have. In Breath of the Wild, the immersive sim stuff is the meal. You can ride a fucking bear. This is also why, stay with me, the combat is really fun. Yeah, I know, you hate the weapon breaking for valid reasons that I'm sure you can justify in a very intricate essay on Metacritic, but this is my video, I like the weapon breaking, fuck you. Should I be going through 5 different swords in the time it takes to kill one boss? Probably not. Does it make any sense for a sword named the Master Sword to break in 50 swings? Definitely not, but I'll take the nonsensical logic for the benefit it has on the gameplay. Most of the time. In Red Dead 2, there's all of this cool, creative stuff I can do. Run in with a hatchet and start going to town, lasso a guy and take him for a trip, shoot an oil lamp so it explodes and watch as it melts everything around it. But what's the fucking point when what the game really wants me to do is sit behind some cover and go, I have infinite money, I have infinite ammo, I've kitted my gun out to have the biggest numbers possible, I can go into Matrix mode at the press of a button. Why bother experimenting when I can just... Elden Ring was the same thing. I played through almost that entire game with the same sword. I had lots of options: spear, axe, Wolverine claws, bubble blower, there was a whole magic system I completely ignored, but why bother changing up the strategy if this one works? Meanwhile, in Breath of the Wild, you have an inventory of weapons that will shatter if you look at them funny, arrows that melt through your savings, and regular enemies that hit harder than some bosses. You can't just run in with a sword and start whacking everything. It forces you to look at the environment and consider everything at your disposal. Use some bombs, whack a bokoblin in the head with a metal box, flatten the whole lot with a boulder. Then, when something does break, it becomes this mad rush to grab something new or swap to a different weapon and play around with that for a bit. It's a combat loop that rewards creativity and playing around with those different systems. Is it moronic how they implemented it? Yeah, but it's worth it. You can set some grass on fire and then it will spread to the other grass, and then you get an updraft from the burning grass that you can use to fly up in the air and then do a cool freeze frame bow shot. It's so fucking sick! Here's a fun fact. This is the 3rd time I've tried to make a video about Breath of the Wild. In 2019 I wanted to make one. I didn't. In 2021 I said in a Patreon post I was going to make one. I didn't. You could pin that down to laziness. Yep, highly likely, but there's also something about Breath of the Wild that makes it really difficult to talk about when you're playing it for a second time. The reason this game is one of the highest rated things ever is not because of the shrines, or the divine beasts, or the cutscenes, funnily enough. Most of them are quite shit. It's the magic, the sense of wonder, the glancing at a random mountain and deciding then and there to climb to the top of it. Those are 3 things that are very hard to experience when you know the map like the back of your hand, and you know that every single mountain has a little guy on the top of it ready to hand you some shit. If you know where all the cool stuff is, you're not really exploring the map anymore, you're just going down a checklist, and at that point just go play Far Cry. This is a very underwhelming game on a replay. It's like playing Outer Wilds or Obra Dinn again, it just doesn't work. Which may lead you to ask the question, okay then, why did you make this video? Which leads me back to my original point. It's been 6 years and I could barely remember any of it. I forgot it all! I thought, I know my way around this map. I know all your tricks. I know where the divine beasts are. I know where the lost woods is. You have nothing on me. Then I got to Akala and I did a double take when I saw the Citadel. When the fuck did that get there? I thought that was just a hill with a tower on it. Why is there a whole fortress there? This happened again and again and again to me this playthrough. Getting to a place, walking in all smug, before the game pulled the rug out from under me with something my brain had just forgotten. For instance, the trek to the fish people place. Classic section, iconic section, you know, with the heavy rain and the windy road that you've got to follow all the way round because the designers over in Kyoto are sick bastards. In my head, this was a nice little stroll. You just leg it down the road for a couple minutes, fight 1 or 2 enemies, and then you're there. In reality, this is a never-ending hike around the most incompetently designed road I have ever seen. Just make it fucking straight! There's not just one or two enemies to deal with, there's multiple massive camps of the fuckers, all of them equipped with electricity arrows and boulders to crush you with, all while it's raining and lightning is striking everywhere and the Switch is struggling to hold 30 frames a second. When you finally reach the last bridge, it feels like you've just finished the trek to Mordor, and yet I didn't remember any of it. My monkey brain forgot it all! Did you remember that there is a rock climbing minigame hidden in the top right corner of the map, where you have to prove how much of a man you are to a Goron to get him to move off of a shrine? Because I didn't! Did you remember that snowling is a thing in this game? Snowling. Snowball bowling. Because I didn't! Did you remember that Kilton is in the game? Kilton. Iconic character Kilton, who sells you funny masks and flies around in his little hot air balloon. The best character in the entire game, and I completely forgot he existed. And you probably did too, don't lie! I started playing this game again just to get footage for a different video, but I kept playing right until the end, because I was so surprised by how much the game could still surprise me. I have over 200 hours in Breath of the Wild. I should have the layout of the map tattooed into my brain at this point, and yet I completely forgot one of the biggest landmarks in the map even existed. And Kilton! I don't even have much of a point to make with this video, it's just... Breath of the Wild always struck me as one of those games that I'd never be able to have the same experience with again. I could always replay it, I can put the cartridge in my Switch and give it another go, maybe I'll play it naked this time. But as I've already said, it's not the same. Which sucks. I can say Breath of the Wild is one of my favourite games, but all I'm going off is a distant experience 14-year-old me had. I can't have that same experience again. Babyface is hogging it all for himself. You need that magic, you need that sense of discovery, you need that next big thing to stumble across. Otherwise, what's the point? But hey, oh man, wake up! Because it turns out there is a point! Back in 2017, when I was taking my first steps out of the Great Plateau, I somehow managed to end up at this bridge. I wandered across it, fought some lizards, got to the other side, and it was only when I was climbing to the top of the nearby tower that I realized, this is not where I wanted to go. I was completely lost. That is my favourite memory playing this game. Which is weird, right? I've spent the last 20 minutes gushing about all the things I love about this game, and yet this bridge is the highlight. But it is. That's the magic of Breath of the Wild congealed down into one tiny moment. Getting lost and loving every minute of it. And that's what made revisiting this game so special to me, because I was lost over and over and over again. I'm not discovering a world for the first time, but I'm rediscovering it. I'm piecing together these memories that are so old they were made back when I was still learning about basic algebra. Yeah, I know where the Divine Beasts are, I know where Kakariko Village is, I know where the desert is, I know this map, time isn't gonna change that. But it will wash away all the other stuff. The ravines, the bridges, the sprawling fields, the marshes and the lakes and the forests, a huge fortress, a lost woods, a village, a novelty shopkeeper, 100 shrines, 900 Koroks, and a bunch of mountains. Ready to climb. It's been 6 years, and Breath of the Wild still feels new. And I'm so happy about that.